Hello, everyone. Today, we are going to talk with Jennifer Pennington, who is a friend of mine. We've known each other for a really long time, and you can see her from the picture that this girl is a badass, shredded woman, and she's also got one of the biggest philanthropist hearts I've ever seen. And I'm really, really, really looking forward to talking to Jennifer today. So let's bring her on in. Hi, Jennifer.
Hello.
Awesome. Well, you look absolutely fantastic and amazing. And one of the things that I love the most about you is, I mean, you just have this absolutely incredibly muscular physique. You work so hard on that, but you're the whole package. I mean, your heart and your is just so full and your mind is sharp. Just for some context, Jennifer was the parent of a couple of my students when I was teaching, and she came in and was just so helpful, especially that one year when we did all that fundraising and you
Yes.
wrote that grant and everything. So just a beautiful community builder as
Thank
well as
you.
a bodybuilder.
Thank
So
you. You're
thank
so
you,
sweet.
Jennifer.
I
So it
appreciate
hasn't always been like you haven't had an easy road of getting where you are. You've had 10 surgeries and major back surgery.
Yes. I've had over 10 surgeries within the last 16 years, and I've never really told a lot of people about my story or about what I've gone through just because, you get in that mode where you just keep things going, you keep things moving, but you also don't want to have them see you in a different light than the way that they've seen you or see you now or have seen you in the past. And so I really did have to work through a lot of that. But yes, I've had a major back surgery. And in that process of having major back surgery, it was in my thoracic, which, is a lot of in that middle, a lot of mobility, arms, torso. So all that movement really was diminished. And I had to start completely all over again with how I, walked, how I just moved in general. And so it not only started off with me just walking or physically just being able to stand up, but it also, had to restructure a lot of the things I did when it came to working out, being a mom, just a lot of things I did. So yeah, I kind of had to start a lot of times from ground zero.
Boy, it sounds like it. So if I understand you right, and I just want to reiterate, you actually went through a time where you could hardly walk.
Yes. So yeah. So after I had back surgery, there was it's really taxing. I don't know if those out there who have had surgeries before, especially a back surgery or major surgery, where it really takes your mobility away. But I wanted to not just lie there. So I got out of my vehicle each and every day. Well, first of all, I decided to go to the gym. And I probably should not have been driving, but I was driving. And I drove myself to the gym, and the gym that I was at the time um, had a track and where you could just walk the track. And so I would be hunched over, would take little tiny steps just to get in there. I would hit the little automatic door opener because I physically couldn't open the door myself. And I got onto the elevator, I got up to the track, and I thought if I could just make it a couple steps, it's further than I was yesterday. And so it's an emotional thing, knowing where you were at to where you know you can be, you want to be, and you should be. So starting at that point, I took a couple steps. I was extremely tired. The wind was taken out of me. I was ready to go home at that point. So I go home the next day, same thing. Got into my car, went to the gym, and thought if I can only make it a couple more steps than I did yesterday. And every single day, that's what I focused on, are those little steps. And so in that journey, I really started to think about not only the physical piece of it and how I can take those little steps to be better physically, but then I started taking on what I could do spiritually, and I do um, emotionally, and what I could do different to just be overall a better person in every single aspect of my life. And so from that point forward, it has been such an amazing
Okay.
time and trying to make myself better one step at a time.
Wow. When you were talking about that, I was feeling really emotional and trying to actually imagine myself having the strength to do what you did. Show up at the gym,
Yeah.
walk in whatever way you could, and push yourself in that way. Just that alone, it's so much more than just that physical strength. That is the mental and spiritual strength, like you talked about. And I love how you carried that over into the whole being. So that's really amazing. And I want to keep focusing on that just a little bit. But what got you started in the first place down this path of being a bodybuilding athlete?
Well, I have always been an active person. I've been in athletics, since I can remember. I have three older brothers who kept me going and motivated, and I always had to keep up. I was always on the basketball court, or trying to learn new things, and along with them. And so after I had my first son, Colby, I was in that mindset still of, I want to be active. I want to pursue something that will challenge me. What can I do um, to still be at that point and to still try and, gain another step forward to be in a better health and fitness. And so I was at the gym one day, and I was talking to one of the trainers there about it. And they're like, "Have you ever heard of bodybuilding or fitness competitions?" And I was like, "Yeah, a little bit, but, in your mind, you perceive things differently." And so I had the little triggers, when you hear bodybuilding, you think, the woman has to look, like a lot different than you would want to look as a woman. And so you perceive things just, at least I did, a lot different. But I became very intrigued, and I studied a little bit more. I did go to a fitness competition, which was so inspirational for me because there was an 84-year-old woman up there. I'm not joking. And I seen her and the glow she had, and she was so happy, and just the way that she was presenting herself. And I was like, oh my gosh, if I could be 84 years old up on that stage, just for me, just for the aspect of me, and knowing that I can do this and I can be like, wow, look at how far I came. That is what I wanted to do. And so as soon as I saw that, I was all in. It was something I wanted to do. And it was definitely a challenge for me. Uh, so especially after having a baby. And so, yeah, I was hooked from the get-go.
Wow.
So
So
that's how it all started.
I just want to put this into perspective. So you have had more than 10 surgeries, including major back surgery. You have 3 children,
Mm-hmm.
and you are like a world-class bodybuilder. Like, it's really amazing. Can I just show some pictures to our audience of
Oh,
of
sure.
kind
Go
of
ahead.
I
Yeah, I love that.
this is just absolutely inspirational to me when I see people at this level. So this is a fairly recent picture. Yes, Jennifer?
Yes, that was after I competed about a little over a year ago. You just kind of get in the mindset, you get in a mode, and I had a photographer, and she took some pictures while I was at the gym, and I honestly didn't even see myself like that. It was like, it's the strangest thing, but you go through motions, you get going on your workouts, and then yeah, she took some phenomenal shots. I was really happy.
Yeah, that's just amazing. We're just gonna uh so oops, let's go back here. Love this one just because it kind of shows your journey a little bit here as we go through. Can you just speak to some of these pictures on here and let us know about them?
Absolutely. So the one to the far left, that is one of the first shows. Well, not the first show. I That was one of the first shows, I should say, I did after I had all three of my boys. And it was a lot of fun. And I get up there for me because it's a challenge for me. And that is the reason that I love doing it, because I love pushing myself beyond, especially the mental piece of it. There's a lot of, a lot of stuff that goes through that in the process. And so, yeah, so the one to the far left is me after I had all three of my boys. And then one about 2 years ago. The other one was about a year ago. And then the other one is a picture of what the photographer took while I was in the gym.
So awesome. Absolutely inspirational. And then we've got these. This is, oops, wow. They're all over the place, aren't they? And this was that same one a couple of years ago.
Yeah, there was, I did a few shows in the same year. So that was just another one of the shows in that same year. And then the other one was just me prepping, getting ready, just it's such a fun experience because, we don't always get to be like, at least I don't, the girly girl that I want to be, because I'm always surrounded by boys or their friends, men, and things like that. And so putting those little clear high heels on and, going through my poses in the separate room where, I have to myself is so much fun. So that was actually the one to the far right, is me prepping and working on my poses and things like that.
Super, super cool, Jennifer. And can you talk to us just a little bit about what is the lifestyle of a bodybuilder? You have your on season, your off season, and like there is a lot, not just in body prep, but in the way that you're moving on the stage and, practicing your poses. Can you talk to us just a little bit about that?
Yes, I have a little bit of a different philosophy and mindset than some of the traditional competitors out there. In the off season, what I personally like to do, an off season is basically when you are now not out there on stage or prepping to get on stage within a couple months period. But it's where you have like 3, to 4 or 5 months to get ready for that next season that's coming about. And through my whole journey, I've really had to learn how to retrain myself in what works best for me when it comes to working out and eating, just because of everything in my history that I have been through. And I also have an autoimmune disorder. And I have really bad inflammation. And so in that process, I've really had to, learn how to eat differently, what creates that inflammation, what doesn't, what works best for my body. Because your body has a lot of triggers too. So like oatmeal, for instance, or some nuts triggers my body to where it stores fat or stores that starch a little bit differently, where in yours it may not. So it's really about learning and growing in that process, listening to what your body has to say, and figuring out what foods are good for your body and what foods, don't react as well for your body. So in that whole journey, that's a lot that I've had to go through as far as trying to really figure myself out. And so in my off season, to kind of answer your question, it's for me, it's about maintaining. I don't necessarily go on this, dive into a lot of food intake and carb intake and load it up to try to gain that muscle and try to pack on more muscle and things like that, because my body, I learned, responds differently with that. And it just basically puts it on this roller coaster, which then I find myself being on an emotional roller coaster.
Mhm.
And I find that if I just can maintain that and work hard in my training at the gym or at home, then it just works more efficiently for my style of body, um, the emotional processes. And then with my food, I kind of do the same thing. I really just balance my food and try not to overdo one thing and underdo another. It's really about finding that overall balance and making sure that I'm maintaining that each and every day. And it's not to say that I don't crave sugar like everybody else or salt like everybody else, within a daily. But what I've learned how to do is if I do have that sugary craving, then I just, take a few bites of it and I'm fine. And one of the things that I've really tried not to do is tell myself I can't, because I find that when I tell myself I can't or I shouldn't or I won't, then I want it more. I want to do it more. And so in that, I really just say I can. And when knowing I can, I just do very little, and my mind and my body are both satisfied at the same time. So with me,
Wow.
it's all about balance. It's all about maintaining. And then if I'm working in the gym, um, I'm I'm approaching it the same way. And I don't go heavyweight. I can't go heavyweight. My body's been through so much. So what I do is I've learned how to do things differently. And kind of what, back to what you were saying, I've had to go through a spiritual, an emotional transformation and journey. And so in that process, kind of going back to that also, I've had to learn that it's okay to be different than I used to be. And that takes some time, but it's also taken, it's taken a lot away from me as far as having overwhelming anxiety about trying to, when I know that if I can do it differently, be okay with it and move on.
Okay, if we stopped right there with what you just said, as you were talking, like I was just getting goosebumps. I love how you're honoring yourself, achieving your goals, and finding what works for you. That's beautiful, Jennifer. And the
Thank you.
results speak for themselves.
Thank you.
The results are speaking for themselves. So that was wow. Makes me even admire you more. And so that's phenomenal.
Thank you.
You have a really awesome saying that you coined for yourself. Will you tell us what that saying is?
Yeah, I can, because I really try and say this in everything I do as a daily. Make every movement count. And if you think about those words, make every movement count, that can relate to nearly everything you do in life, not just going to a gym, not just eating correctly, not just one thing or the other. It can be used spiritually, emotionally, physically, in a lot of things. And so that's what I try, the message I try to say to myself every single day, and that's actually my mission going forward, is make every movement count. And I have a friend that I work out with every now and again. Well, we try to do it daily, but we just feed off of each other. And I was showing her the concept of workout that I have really tried to actively do within the last year and a half. It's something that I've created, and I've really started adapting. And she would say, well, this is how, I'm used to doing it. This is how I'm used to doing it. But if you have something in your hand and you're moving that weight, right, then, and if you're still holding it and you're done with that set, then, take it and do an ab with it. But you're making every movement count. You're not just flinging the weight, hurrying up and trying to get it done and over with. You're not trying to push a heavy, heavy weight that you know that you can't do, but make every movement count in what you're doing. And if you have it in your hand, use it for something else. And she's just like, oh my gosh. And then I said, now take that and apply that to everything else. And she's
Wow.
like, okay. So yes, that's really what I try to do every day, is make every movement count.
That's all I have to say. Like, love, love, love that so much. We don't have a lot of time left, but I want to make sure that we touch on your heart that is just so, so huge. You and your son have a little nonprofit that you do. Can you talk to us just a little bit about that for a minute or two?
Yes. So we are starting a business. It's a hat business. So those of you who might be watching now, we're going to watch a little bit later, and you don't recognize me because I don't have my hat on, because that's my daily is my hat. And I get a lot of flack for that. But honestly, a lot of it's because I don't want to do my hair every day because I have hand issues. I have physical things that doesn't allow me to do that every single day. And honestly, that's why I wear a hat. But that's what a lot of people know me from, is my hats. And I'm just fine with that. But anyway, so my oldest son, Colby, he's very artistic, and he can think of these things that sometimes I can't even think of. Anyway, I really tried to take and do something with each one of my boys. And this is something that I'm starting with him. And so him and I are going together. We're creating a hat line. And then a lot of that money for the hat line is going to go back to those youth, teenagers, and young adults who may not be able to afford gym dues to go to the gym. They want to be active. They want to feel good about themselves. And so we are going to have it to where they can come to us, ask us for a scholarship for it, per se, and then we pay for their year membership at a gym. And then, we would love for them to let us know how they're doing and all that. But we want to give back to those who may not be able to afford to go to the gym, but we know the importance of it because it is an overall experience. So that's what we're creating.
That is absolutely awesome, Jennifer. And all of Jennifer's contact details, her Instagram, or Facebook, and her email are all in the description of this live, so you can get in contact with Jennifer and buy hats from Jennifer and check out her pictures, because girl, you rock the hat thing. I mean, it's really an awesome style, and I didn't know why you always wore it, but I always thought, she just looks so cute in your hats.
Thank you.
Jennifer, it has been just an absolute honor and pleasure to talk to you today. And I know that everybody has been inspired. So if you have any last words of inspiration, and for sure, say your line one more time, your line that you coined, because it is beautiful and amazing.
Make every movement count. And I have one more other thing to say. The life that you thought you should have isn't always the life you were meant to have. And so I want people to remember that, because they may have a perspective thinking that this is the way that they should be or need to be, but they need to think that there could be a shift in all that, and that's okay.
And
So
that's
thank
okay.
you. Thanks for
Thank
having
you,
me.
Jennifer.
Love
It's
you.
been an absolute pleasure. Love you. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next
Thank you.
week.
Bye-bye.